Cool. And let's give this a shot. So,
Okay.
all right. So thing number one. All right, let's start with number one.
My favorite one.
All right. Well, yeah, I know that was great. So first things first, we should probably introduce ourselves. I'm Zachary, for those of you that don't know me. And we're doing a podcast thing just for the fun of it because everybody's stuck at home and there's nothing better to do. And this is my friend Jackie.
Hi.
And so, yeah, we're just going to talk about some of the week's news and pretty much just have a conversation that the average people, I think, would have over a cup of coffee. But we are in short supply of social
interaction
lives right now. So, right. So that's kind of the idea, I think. All right. So do you want to go ahead and go over and start off with our first topic?
Sure. So the first thing that we had that was in the news this past week was John Krasinski came out with his own feel-good TV news webcam show. And the article kind of talked about how he's on par with YouTubers that you see that are in pop culture nowadays, and just the feel-good moments of talking about The Office's 15th anniversary. About halfway through, they had Michael Scott come on and Steve Carell and share some of their favorite memories from the show, which was fantastic.
That was great.
Because that scene that he described is actually one of my favorite moments from the show too, like hands down.
Sure.
So that was really fun. And I just loved the concept of spreading good news.
Yeah, me too.
Like, I honestly did cry. I cried multiple times. I will fully admit I did. The imagery that he shared of the old man who held up the sign about thanking the healthcare people for saving his wife's life.
Oh, that was adorable.
I lost it. Like, this is too much. And then when he brought Coco on, so Coco went viral, I guess, in this past weekend. That was the 15-year-old cancer patient survivor. Her last chemotherapy session, her whole town threw this like celebration for her. It's like, stop. It's just too much. Yeah, so that was really good.
That was great. Yeah, I very much enjoyed the video. If you haven't seen it, I'm going to try and like link it in like this description or whatever on YouTube or whatever, and it'll be fun. But it was really, really neat just to see. First of all, I'm always a fan of like positive news because all the news that we tend to consume these days is negative. But just his overall attitude, you could almost see like tears in his eyes throughout the whole video. Yeah. He's just like starting to tear up, and it was just a really nice, refreshing step back. So that was really nice. I very much enjoyed that.
Yeah,
that was really nice. I enjoyed that a lot.
I thought it was interesting the way that they made the comparison between him and other like pop culture moguls, like Trevor Noah and other like late night hosts that are hosting similar segments from their homes and giving it out for like however many millions of subscribers they have.
Sure.
And then comparing that theme to what John Krasinski was doing. And I hadn't really thought about it in that light, because when you think about those people, they have a tendency to bring politics in because they are, in a way, political commentators. And so John Krasinski kind of
make some kind of joke.
Presented himself in a way of like, there was nothing political about his segment at all. It was all purely for positivity, like spreading positive feelings, which I really appreciated.
Right. Like me personally, like, again, we're not going to get into politics or anything like that on this show, but simply because it's boring and it's exhausting. Like, just everybody won't shut up about it. So it makes it boring to me. People keep talking about the same points over and over and over again, and it just gets repetitive. Not that these points aren't necessarily important or anything, but it just gets repetitive and boring. And I think the late night hosts, in my opinion, have the same kind of issue because they tend to use the same jokes over and over again. And it just, it gets lazy or boring for like comedy, in my opinion. But that's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and John
but
Krasinski is not a late night host.
correct.
And I think that that's really important. I was kind of surprised they made the comparison in this article because he's not one of
Yeah.
them. He's completely, you can tell it's like homespun webcam video. His daughter's made the sign. Like, it's cute.
Adorable. It's adorable.
Exactly. Yes, it is. It was. So I definitely enjoyed that piece of news.
Yeah, I watched it when it came out and it was like at 200,000 views or something like that. And then I went to share it and it was at like 1.5 million views or whatever. So
Yeah,
it was like,
it definitely spread
quick.
very fast.
Yeah, it was really good. It was very good. I very much enjoyed it. I also, those 2 episodes of The Office are 2 of my favorites as well. The ones that were Dinner Party. Dinner Party is I think my all-time favorite. It's hilarious.
It's definitely at the top 5 for sure.
Oh my goodness. I cry laughing so hard when I watched that episode. And then when his TV folds into the wall, it's just hilarious.
Lose it. Yeah.
And I've watched like the blooper reels for The Office, and they tend to like almost like half the bloopers from that season were just from that episode because they were all just crying, laughing so hard. And just the discomfort level of everybody there at the dinner party, it's the best. And then Dwight shows up with his own wine glasses. It is awesome.
And Andy goes to pull out the flower and he brings like the longest one in the bunch and pulls out like 2 other spigots with it. It's too good.
It is too good, that episode. And so, it's just
watching
very, very
the
funny.
bloopers from that episode is almost as good as watching the episode.
Oh my goodness, for sure. For sure. And they broke characters so much, and it was too good. And then the same thing goes for the last episode, but from a different like perspective entirely, because like Michael's leaving, but like you don't find out that he's leaving until like Jim puts all the pieces together and he's like, oh, so you're like not even coming in tomorrow, but like you didn't tell anybody because you hate goodbyes that much.
Right.
And then just tear jerking up. I didn't know that they did like 18 to 20 takes of them just looking at each other. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I'd heard of that.
Oof, that's rough. That is rough.
Yeah. I mean, you spend your whole life with these people and like, or at least a significant portion of your life.
Right.
Day in and day out. Like they have to become family. That's so, yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because I haven't really watched like the Office Ladies podcast at all, but Angela Kinsey and Jenna Fisher do like their podcast where they go through the Office episodes, and that's really cool. I haven't gotten a chance to watch any of the episodes yet.
It's on my list. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that Angela Kinsey apparently just kind of looks like she has like RBF all the time just because of the fact that she played Angela for 9 years. And so as a result, like she goes places, she's having a really great time and everybody's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, no, I'm having a great time. This is a lot of fun. It's pretty funny. I thought that was good. She was on, I think, an episode of Ellen, and I saw her on the Ellen show. So
yeah.
So yeah.
All around 10 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good. And then the next one, I want to know what you think about this too. So like you can help cure COVID-19 with your laptop. So I'm kind of a tech nerd. So like, this is not something that's necessarily new to me, but I just started doing it for the first time.
So you're doing it?
For sure. I actually have 3 computers running it right now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So essentially what happens here is COVID-19, like it's a folding protein simulation thing. And effectively you get as many people running it on their own computers as possible. And then all those computers can be used together as like one giant supercomputer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so as a result, like it's sending certain proteins out to be folded, like folding simulation for proteins. And then if they find a match that's like, oh, this could help cure it, then they'll like run their own tests. And if that works, then they'll like actually try and do it. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
As far as I'm aware, that's, again, I'm not an expert on this, but
think that's kind of the gist I got from the article. Yeah.
Right. And so over the past several years, again, like I'm kind of in the technology world, so I knew about this, but I hadn't ever used it. It's like you can fold to cure cancer, you can fold to cure Alzheimer's,
Hmm.
or you can fold to cure anything. And right now, if you just select anything, everything's going towards the coronavirus right now. And so I just started doing it along
Hmm.
with a bunch of other people. Like on a regularly, they've had like 30,000 people over the past, I don't know, 8 years or something like that. And then they just jumped up to 400,000 since the
Yeah.
coronavirus outbreak. So they've jumped up with a lot of new users, which is great. And as a result of that, now it overtook, it's the fastest supercomputer in the world now.
Yep.
And it's faster than the top 25 combined,
Which is
which is awesome.
insane.
That is just awesome.
It's
And it's just really cool to see everybody kind of getting together and like, all right, yeah, I'll use my laptop or my desktop or whatever. So
yeah.
yeah, I have one laptop that's like a gaming laptop or whatever running it, and then two desktops just running folding simulations all the
I
time.
I honestly I find it kind of sad that a pandemic had to erupt on the national screen for people to kind of know about this. And I think
Sure,
part of that has been the media coverage of like every media outlet is talking about this right now. Like, yes, we all know cancer exists and we all know other diseases exist, but nothing has reached the level of, I guess, discussion that COVID has. And I just, it it breaks my heart a little bit to feel like, okay, everybody that has had cancer over the last 10 years, y'all could have been pulling your resources together and
sure.
using these laptops, and like only now do we know that this is a thing, um,
I
for people
think
to
that
get involved in.
yeah, I would agree with that to an extent. I would also say that, like, to be fair to maybe everybody, is maybe it wasn't as easy 8 years ago or whatever, or 10 years ago to get started with it. And
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of like work that's gone into it to make it a whole lot easier. Like now pretty much it's just download, install, and run the
Yeah,
program and
that's
call
true.
it a day. But for, the rest of time, it could have been a whole lot harder to get started. And that's what I've heard. And maybe people had like predispositions that they didn't know. And so they thought it took a lot longer to set up or whatever else it may be.
Yeah.
And now we have all this kind of free time. So
Right.
everybody's like, yeah, sure, I can spend uh really, it's really only like 5 minutes, but like they might think it's
Yeah.
going to be an hour. Yeah, I can spend an hour setting this up. And
I guess that's a fair point. I would just push back a little bit and say maybe the advertising could have been a little bit better, that this is like happening, and not
yeah,
necessarily just publicize it to people who are tech savvy, or but like if it's that easy, and to your point, if it's that easy now for people to just download a program. I think my friend, someone I knew in high school over Facebook, mentioned this exact thing and was like, people are reaching out. You download it and you research, or you just run it on your computer. I'm like, well, that's not hard. So
right.
I think maybe a little bit more advertising to the public may have gotten people involved a little bit sooner.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. It'd be nice for a lot of things to get a bit more media coverage, but we probably shouldn't go too deep
Also
into
true.
that today. But it's just really cool that now it's faster than the top 25 supercomputers combined. That's pretty awesome. So
But I also have to wonder, what is it taking the necessary precaution against like nefarious hacking, and what is the security level of what's happening right now? Is it easy to tap into this and use it for a bad purpose? Like, I don't know, I feel like there's some security considerations that people might not be thinking about. Maybe there are none, but it was something I wondered while reading this, was how easy is it for
mhm.
someone to tap into this and make it a problem rather than a solution.
Absolutely. And so, like, if you go way back in the early history of computers and even the not so long ago history of computers, there is something called
Mm-hmm.
like denial of service attacks, where
Mm.
you would effectively take your computer and you'd send a request to another computer and say, hey, can you get me this information? And ideally, like, the information doesn't even exist. So it takes a while for the computer to be like, oh, let me find this information. And then it
Right.
looks through everything, can't find it. And then it sends back, oh, error, I don't have anything. And so as a result, you just use up that computer's resources while like it's using it. And so it's called a denial of service attack. And
Okay.
then there's something called a distributed denial of service attack, which is where you do that with multiple computers at the same time. And it's called DDoS, or DDoSing a system. And so ideally, like, you would say, all right, Netflix, for example.
Right.
All right, we're going to take 10,000 computers and we're all going to ping Netflix at the same time for requests that don't actually exist. And then Netflix site like goes down for a minute,
Okay.
or 5 minutes or an hour, or
Yeah.
however long the hackers decide to do it, or
Right.
however long it takes Netflix to be like, here's the problem, and then we patch it. So there's definitely the potential for that. It was a huge issue with Windows XP back in the day, that you could make your computer a zombie without even knowing it. So a hacker could take control of your computer,
See,
not
that's
necessarily
scary.
without you knowing it, and just use your background resources, and you might not even know about it.
Yeah, that's pretty scary.
It hasn't really been an issue as much as of late. It tends to be much less effective nowadays, just because of, certain programs and certain operating systems like Windows or Mac OS or whatever it may be, doing a good job of like protecting against it. And also certain companies like Cloudflare, for example, that protect companies against DDoS attacks and things like that. Every once in a while, something gets really, really difficult for somebody to stay protected from, but it's just pretty cool. So
it is. No, it was cool. I don't know. I just can't. I think there's lots of things to think about with technology. I feel like.
for sure.
And so.
And
I'm always a little skeptical.
Yeah, I mean, even from the early, like, anytime technology advances, it's always beneficial for the people that want to take advantage of it first. It's way easier to take advantage of something than it is to secure something. So every time there's an advancement of technology, it helps out the people that can abuse it first. And that's just the way it's been for forever. I mean, if you look at credit cards, all right, the mag stripe, wow, it's really easy to swipe my card. Well, guess what? It has your card number and everything on it. All you have to do is swipe it in the wrong thing, and then your information's stolen. And the same thing goes for like that little RFID chip that you could just tap it on the screen and it would work. Well, now I'm behind you by 3 feet with an iPad and I've got all your information. So it's great. It's great. But in reality, it's not the end of the world. I mean, getting a credit card number stolen is as easy as calling Visa and being like, hey, my credit card number was stolen. I need a new one. It's not that big a deal. So yeah. All right, let's move on to the next topic. So YouTube and Netflix lower their default video quality to reduce strain on the internet. So I thought this one was pretty cool. So effectively, I noticed it for the first time today on my phone, was that like I went to watch YouTube and it automatically started in like 480 instead of 720 or 1080 quality. And so it's just like a lower resolution by default, which is usually fine for me because I usually like listen to YouTube and drive is usually what I do. I don't usually watch YouTube. I just listen to a bunch of podcasts and educational material on YouTube for the most part. And so, but now I'm stuck at home, so I am watching YouTube and I'm like, I actually want the better quality now. But yeah,
which I think was part of like a major point of the article itself.
Absolutely.
Like, people are home, so they're, of course, I think it was like 35 to 60% increase or something like that during the day, but still nowhere near like the nation's bandwidth use or something like that. At least in Europe, I think, is where it was centered on. And so,
yeah,
I don't know. I'll put YouTube on in the mornings. For music, I'm not really concerned with the quality of the video per se, but more so just the sound. I guess when they start messing with the sound, then I'm going to have an issue with it. But yeah, I didn't really feel impacted personally by this one.
That's good. That's good. I just thought it was interesting.
It is.
Because apparently they weren't the first to do it. Apparently Netflix did it first.
Yeah. And then YouTube followed.
Yeah, I think Netflix has an advantage in this case because Netflix doesn't allow you to choose your quality of streaming. So some things will stream in 4K, some things will stream in HD, and some things will stream in SD. And you won't really ever know because you can't select it like you can on YouTube.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've never ever changed the quality of a
Right.
video or a movie or anything like that on
Right.
Netflix. So.
And so that's just because they don't like allow you to. They don't allow you to change it, which is kind of a bummer that you can't like scale it up to 4K if you have a 4K TV, or if you, it just determines based on your internet connection or whatever you're watching it on to determine the quality. It's kind of a bummer that you can't change it yourself, but
I think it puts people at a disadvantage with people who can't maybe afford the nicer internet or anything like that, and then they get to watch crappy TV.
Well, the problem is if you can't, so that's another.
But then they might not have Netflix in the first place.
Well, but even if they can, so let's say they can't afford the nice internet. If they try to watch something in 4K, it's going to be stupid slow and like jittery and like crappy. So that's kind of why Netflix and people and YouTube and people put this in place in the first place, is so that it defaults to one that like you can actually watch the content in at a reasonable speed. So that's typically why they do it that way. And it's not, everybody kind of looks at resolution as the end all be all, but there's also like the bit rate. So like you can have like a crap video quality and send it in like the best resolution, but it's not going to change the actual resolution that you shot it in.
I've always wondered that. And it's because of bit rate is what you said?
So like bit rate. So for example, if you look at like streaming a 4K movie on Netflix, that might take 3 to 4 gigabytes of like data. When you watch a 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, that's like a 50 to 60 gigabyte file.
Oh, wow.
So as a result, like which one's going to be better quality? The Blu-ray. It's less of a lossy format and such. So, and just the overall bit rate. And again, I almost hope that like people that know a lot about it don't watch this so that I get drilled in like comments of like how little I know about this. But
I guess you're lucky I don't know a whole lot about it. This is like educational for me.
Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I do know that like the bit rate has a whole lot to do with the quality. In fact, usually even has more to do than the resolution, because I subscribe to like a streaming service that a YouTuber has out there that he does. Their 1080 quality is better than YouTube's 4K quality just because the bit rate is so much better. So it uses a lot more like data, like if you're watching it on your phone or if you're watching it at home, it takes a lot more and you need that better internet and whatever else it may be, but you get a much better quality video.
Interesting.
So it's just kind of neat. Yeah. I just thought it was kind of fun to go over and such.
It was different for me. It's not something that I'd really considered as being a consequence of the current climate we're in. But yeah, it's kind of like, well, makes sense. Why? So it was interesting to read. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So now I'm curious about this. So quarantine dating app that's released. I cannot wait to hear your opinion, because I think you've talked about like dating apps and how much you kind of don't like them already.
I hate them.
Right. Okay. So I am very interested to hear your thoughts on the quarantine dating app. I know almost nothing about this, but I do know apparently you start off with the app. It asks you if you washed your hands. And if you say yes, then it like matches you with somebody. And then after 15 minutes of chatting, you can potentially video chat. I believe that's what I heard.
Got from it. Yeah.
So knowing that, what do you think?
Of all the things to come up with during a global pandemic, you're going to introduce a dating app into this. I'm just like, people really have nothing better to do than to come up with stuff. And I think it's a novel idea. But just like the article mentioned, like, we don't have a send-off date for this. Like, there's no necessarily like yay, you get to talk to this person for X amount of days, and eventually at some point in the future you might meet face to face. Like, I just personally don't see the investment in talking to someone over and over. And like, I get the screening period of talking online. I've done
Sure.
it. I get that part. But eventually, there's only so much you can learn from somebody the way that they talk to you online versus in
For
person.
sure.
And there's only people only present their best face, and their best face through text might not even be great. So
Right.
like, how does that compare to when you meet somebody in person, and then with the idea of like, okay, I might not meet you for another 2 months. I'm not a very patient person to begin with, so I can't see myself ever using this. Like, there are so many things with this where I was like, this is, no. I don't know. That's kind of my initial thoughts.
And so I've never really understood dating apps in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
They've never made a ton of sense to me personally. If some people want to use them, I'm sure there are other perspectives out there that are different.
Uh-huh.
More power to you people, but I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense why you wouldn't like want to meet somebody in person first. Or maybe you want to, but you don't have the social confidence or something like that. I don't know.
Maybe.
I'm assuming the benefit. I want to give the benefit of the doubt to anybody that uses it. Like, I'm not going to bash on it completely because I don't know a lot about it. But it's
I'm
never
not
been
so bad about bashing on it. I can bash on it.
That's fair. You've done it though. You've done it. I haven't done it to like know whether or not that like I hate it.
Yeah. This one personally, I just don't see any value in.
Sure. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't see. I feel like most people that are using dating apps these days aren't looking for a lack of physical interaction, if that makes sense.
I get what you're saying.
So yeah. I think they're looking mostly for physical interaction, and I don't know that I see a point of a dating app that doesn't have like, or encourage physical interaction, at least in the near future.
Yeah.
So
I get something that the article said that made me laugh. Well, there's a lot, but so the one point that's made that I agree with from prior experience with these apps is about how it like fits into a typical dating practice, which talked about you match with people and then you screen them before meeting in person. So you get a chance to talk on the phone or through text or calls or video chatting or whatever. And so that portion, that's the only portion that I'm like, all right, this is not any different from any other app. The whole reminder to wash your hands kind of thing, I just think is silly. I'm like,
that's hilarious.
You have to be doing that anyway. I don't understand.
Yeah, it is absolutely. That's got to be a ploy, like just to be just to make it funny.
But it reminds me to check in on myself and my surroundings. It's like, are you not already doing that? You need a dating app to remind you to do that? I'm sorry. I was like, what?
I saw an ad the other day on Facebook as I was scrolling through. It said, try this app, self-dating. Get to know yourself better during the crisis or whatever. And so like you're dating and learning about yourself is the idea.
Oh my gosh.
So if maybe I should have put that in the doc to go over.
I would have wanted to see what those questions are.
Right?
Because you can buy books about like, tell me this or that, pick this or that, or what are your thoughts on this? And like personal questions that they ask that you can respond to. I'd much rather do that though than do a self-dating app. Maybe it's just the term, but like, no, I really don't want to date myself. Thank you. Oh,
that's great.
Gosh.
That's great. So yeah, and then what is it? What else was it? So I did the self-dating app thing. I saw that. Oh, so I technically think I lied a little bit about not necessarily trying. I know, right? not necessarily trying online dating, because technically I did sign up for
Okay,
Facebook
you're
dating.
not. That does not count.
I told you the story. Yeah.
You dating McCabe does not count.
So for those of you that don't know, long story short, I signed up for this. I had heard about like Facebook dating just being like into tech news and into the tech world. I had heard about Facebook dating like rolling out a dating thing. And the only type of online dating that I was familiar with was just because people talk about it was Tinder. Like that you swipe right, and if they swipe right or whatever, then that means that you match or whatever.
Right.
I don't know. I've never used it. So that was the kind of dating I was familiar with. Well, so I signed up just to see what it was like. And my cousin also signed up at the same time to see what it was like. And we wanted to see if we did that, if I clicked like I'm interested in women and he clicked he's interested in women, could we still match with each other? Turns out we can if we like put them as our secret crush. So our secret crush is somebody in your friends list that you secretly like, that you're like a secret admirer. And if they also sign up for Facebook dating, they get a notification that one of their friends has a secret admirer. And then that, if they also secret crush you, you're both like, oh, super cute, secret admirer.
All of a sudden, guess what? You're
Like,
matched.
right. Then you match. And then it's like, haha, I've secretly had feelings for you for like years or whatever. And then like, that's, so I guess it could be kind of cute. It seems kind of creepy mostly.
So it seems creepy. I'm with you on that. But to an extent, I feel like there is some level of freedom expressed in Facebook dating and dating that way that you don't necessarily get from the other apps, because it gives you a chance to kind of confront feelings that you may have had for someone that you've been friends with for a long time in a mostly safe space where it's like there's no harm, no foul. If there's no reciprocation on their side, you kind of know, and there's closure. So like I kind of appreciate that aspect of the Facebook dating above all the other apps.
Well, so that's only a small part of Facebook dating. The rest of it turns out that it's like your standard, I guess it's your standard dating app. I don't know.
And it sucks.
But here's what happens, right? So if you use Facebook dating, I thought it was going to be one of those things that like, if you like somebody and they also like you, then you match. It's not. So it's not like what I think Tinder to be. It's actually like, if you like somebody, it immediately sends them their profile, sends you their profile or whatever. So I didn't even know that was a thing. And so I was like, I'll just not like any of the girls on here and it won't even be a thing. I'll never know. But
they liked you.
But they liked me. So it immediately sent me their profile. And so like, I don't even check Facebook that often. So I check back like, I don't know, 24, 36 hours later or whatever. And I've got like 31 like profiles that it's like, hey, these are girls that said they like you, which they don't because it's very superficial. Like it's just, they saw your profile.
They like a part of you, but they might not like you as a person.
Right. They like the idea of you. They don't even know.
Or
so it's like,
they like what you wrote. If you wrote something punny or funny.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so as a result of that, it created like I was like, I don't want to do it. And they hadn't built in the take a break button yet. And so like, I just kept getting notifications and I was like, no, I'll just dislike all of them and maybe they'll go away. But then they just kept coming in and then they finally added in a take a break button. And so I clicked take a break.
Funny.
And so I pretty much, I haven't used it since. It's just every once in a while I'll send like McCabe a meme through the chat.
Too funny.
Yeah,
so I spent I think a month on it and I caved. I was like, you know what, let's just try it. So I tried it and it was okay, but I just like every other, and this is my biggest thing, just like all the other ones, it's so there's like I get bored. I get bored.
It's very superficial.
And it is, and I'm like, no. But there was, I'll say I went on a really great date from someone after meeting them on it, and it was awesome. Unfortunately, I figured out later and during that I just didn't want to date anybody. And so I like had to say that, which was fine, and it was a stretching of honesty and all that stuff for me. But it ended up so nice, and it was a great interaction that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't been on there. So
Well, there you go.
I'll give it that. Like it had some level of value for me, but in general, they're terrible, and I don't enjoy them. And but it's not because I don't think that they are for a certain type of people or for a certain type of person looking for a certain type of thing.
Sure.
I think that unfortunately people, especially in our generation, find it maybe a little bit more difficult to date the traditional way. Or there are some people who desire to date the traditional way and are just not meeting the right kinds of people to do that. And so it's an avenue to try and connect that way.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's not satisfying.
I think for the most part, it's just a lack of patience.
Yeah.
I really do.
That could play into it.
I think for the most part, it's that people don't want to spend the time. Like, I mean, if you think about like the old fashioned way, for lack of a better term, like how, I don't know, we're Christians. So like,
Yeah.
I guess we don't date like normal people anyway, but like,
Probably not.
I, I like picture the standard way to do it in like the 70s and 80s was to walk up to a girl at the bar. If you wanted to like talk to somebody, you'd have to do that. Well, now like somebody doesn't have the patience to like walk up and like start a conversation with a stranger and like take that rejection. They can just immediately like send 100 messages to 100 different people and be like, hey, are you interested? And even though 98% of people might reject them, they'll get like a 2% return, and that's fine.
Yeah. I don't know if it's so much patience as it is a lack of confidence
It could
or
easily be that as well.
like I feel like there's any number of reasons you can put in there for why, or like if it's and I'm not going to get into it, but like a male versus a female approaching someone at a bar and the different expectations and connotations that come with that interaction is a whole different discussion.
Yeah, I
And
wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. I've never approached a stranger at a bar.
I've
And
been
if I did, I
approached,
didn't
so
ask
to
for
that
like,
extent I would know, but
and if I did, I wouldn't ask for their information, because I personally, like, my style is like, hey, I'm gonna really get to know a person beforehand, and I want to know whether or not they're even dating material. And then like the dating material is like, let's find out if this person's marriage material. Like, it
and
might
like
sound
that's
intense for a lot of people, but like that's my style, and like I'm not gonna waste my time if I don't like
yeah, no, and
think
that's
that.
fair. I think though where we don't line up really on this, because to a lot
Ah,
of points we do, but I that your separation of like there's a first step and then there's a dating step and the dating step is marriageable, like quality. I tend to lump those first two together, and I think there are some
sure.
people out there who would, where it's like my reason for going on a date or for entertaining a conversation with somebody um, for a week or meeting somebody for coffee. Some people would say, oh, okay, you're dating or you're going on dates or whatever. And that whole process of deciding to even go to coffee or go to dinner um, is not so, I don't want to say don't put as much thought into it as if I'm actually dating someone, but maybe that is the case. Maybe it
Hmm.
is that I am like, okay, let's get to the point where we go to dinner, which means I have to say yes or agree to this first. And even though I'm
Sure.
not so sure about you, why not try it? And then the date happens, and then I usually decide after that. So
Huh.
I guess that's kind of the way my brain works it out, is that those two steps are kind of in concert with each other. And maybe that's why that whole I'm just suck at dating. I mean, that's the case because nobody ever makes it further than that. I always find something wrong. And I think that's that's my weeding out process, is like, just
I
like you said,
guess.
like if you're not marriage material while I'm like going to lunch or meeting you for coffee, then bye. I'm not gonna waste my time. So yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't care enough.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to, is that like
I
I
kind of got to that point.
I want to, like, if I feel like if the right person came along, I'd be interested enough, but
Hmm. But you won't
I'm
know
not
it's the right
interested.
person until you try it and talk to them and maybe meet for coffee. You see what I'm saying?
So I guess that's my point, is that I prefer to meet people in groups. And then after
Okay.
I meet them in a group, I'll get to
Gotcha.
know them in a group, and then maybe I'll ask them to coffee later.
So that's a different style, but you're still kind of mentally processing it in the same way, I think.
I don't know, because I feel like if you go on a date with someone from like a dating site
Hmm.
and that date doesn't go well,
Right.
you don't talk to that person anymore.
Most likely not.
Pretty much ever, right? And so
Yeah.
as a result, like my thought is, okay, I don't want to, I want to get to know this person. And I guess I could potentially see myself eventually dating them, I suppose,
Hmm. Hmm.
but more so just to get to know them as a friend, because more than likely they're going to be a friend.
Okay.
And so I guess that's how I think about it.
So then
I
you're
think
out
very,
to, I
I
feel
think
like
I,
you're out to make friends no matter what. Like that
correct.
is okay. And
Yeah, like
my purpose is
Michael
not that
Scott, Michael Scott level of like, I want to be your friend and then your
Yes,
boss or
okay.
whatever.
That makes so much more sense then to me about how you look at this versus how I do.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think it makes like zero sense to pretty much anybody else, especially guys.
probably.
It makes like zero sense to other guys. They don't get it, um,
Yeah,
which is what it is. I'm not worried
it's
about it.
so funny. Okay.
It is very funny because I have conversations and they're like, no, that's not how it works the way it is for me. So deal with it. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, we have, I think, one more topic,
Okay.
and this is another like technology related topic. So
Hmm.
it just goes to show the kind of news that I consume. Uh, so Firefox creates like an ad block that's paid.
Okay.
So effectively, from what I understand about this,
Hmm.
is you pay for a Firefox extension. I don't even know if you use Firefox, but
No.
you pay for an extension on the browser
Okay.
that if you go to a site that normally displays ads, they will agree to, instead of showing you their ads, they'll
Hmm.
agree to take a cut of the amount that you send to Firefox. So
And
like
that's
let's
legal?
yes. So instead, so effectively Firefox negotiates with all these companies and says, yeah, we're going to send you um, a nickel for them visiting your website because they visited your website and you didn't show them ads because you
Hmm.
paid to not see ads. And the idea is that like they would usually only receive like 3 cents from you looking at ads, but
Right.
because you're visiting with Firefox, they get 5 cents. So they're actually incentivized to not
To
show,
not show you ads.
and so they're incentivized to join the program because they make like, I think it was 30 to 40% more than they would from
Oh.
the standard visit. So as a result of that, like I'm kind of all the way on board with that personally.
So
Not I don't usually see ads, like I just block them out. Like I don't even pay attention unless
yeah.
they're overly egregious and like show up in the middle of the screen and prevent me from reading my article or whatever it may be. But that's why they make them more egregious and more they just show more ads because the more they like infiltrate your vision, the more those companies pay
Yeah.
to show those ads. So for me, like I would pay for it just for a better internet for everybody else. And it's like, I think it starts out at $5 a month. And then it's like, I don't remember what it was, $250 a month after that for the next 6 months. It's like $5 a month for the first 6 months and then $250 after that. I think is what they said
See,
it was going to be.
I still think I wouldn't pay for it.
That's fine. I was
I'm
just
like,
curious.
yeah, because I'll open up another browser or I'll like switch something, or if it's on my computer, if I'm on a computer, then I'll go to my phone and then I'll wait until the ad is over. And it's really not much of an impact on my day-to-day, I guess, dealings, because kind of like you said, like I don't really run into ads, or if I do, it's like, all right, I can suffer 15 seconds and then get to whatever it was I was doing before that. So
Yeah, it wasn't as much for, it's not as much for because I don't want to see the ad. It's more so for I want there to be a better internet without ads plastered all over the place. And
so
like if
you're
I can
altruistic in purpose.
I'm out to contribute to a better internet is my mindset, I think.
I
Because
think I'm more selfish with it.
I mean that's fair. I mean there are plenty of ad blocks that you can use that you don't have to pay for. Like those are a thing that already exist and there are plenty of them. The problem is that really hurts companies that actually rely on ads for their like services.
For their business, yeah.
Right, for their business. And so like sites, if you like go to a site a lot, I encourage people to like whitelist the site so that way they can make money off of the content that they're giving you.
Interesting.
But you know, it's a thing. And so, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it's not, again, like when it comes to ads, I usually block it out mentally and then wait for it to be over.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you, like if there's a YouTube ad or something like that that pops up for 3 seconds, as soon as I skip it, couldn't tell you like 3 seconds later what that ad was for.
No, I have no idea.
No idea.
Yeah.
Or anything. Yeah, I can't tell you. If I go to a website and there's like 50 ads about like, you know, plastic surgery or whatever the ads are usually about.
The whole ad thing, when you like look something up on Amazon or you see something and then all of a sudden your Facebook newsfeed is flooded with things that you like even mentally thought about the day before. I'm like, all right, that's creepy and we're not that. So I'm just going to X out all these things and keep moving.
There you go.
Kind of the way that I roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So before we wrap up, I think we wanted to just mention that like we're both Christians, and as this, you know, churches are now kind of live streaming because nobody can go into churches right now with the whole COVID-19 thing. So it's kind of a bummer, especially like as an extrovert. It's a real bummer for me.
Very big bummer. Not kind of. Huge.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. It's a problem. So as a result of that, a lot of churches are online streaming everything now, which is really cool, I think, for non-Christians. So if you're not a Christian and you don't subscribe to my beliefs, that's fine. It's a great opportunity for you to like learn more about Christianity without like any strings attached. Like you're not gonna have to talk to other Christians or anything like that. If you're worried about that, you can just learn more about like what we think and what we believe. So please do that. However, if you are a Christian and you do subscribe to these beliefs, please remember to keep like donating to your churches, because like they've got bills to pay too, and it's kind of a real stress on them as well. And it's a strain on them during this whole time. So please just remember to keep your church in mind and send a check or something like that. Or if your church has donating online, that'd be great. So just keep that in mind. I think I have the links. So my church is crossroadsnaz.org. We have a live stream at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. So feel free to join for that. And then Jackie's church is thecausechurch.org.
And we have live stream at 11 on Sundays. So
there you go.
Feel free to come in on that too, because we'd love to have you.
So if you really want to, you can join it on both. If you don't want to, you can sleep in and go to Jackie's. So yeah. So anyhow, I just wanted to make sure to mention that to people so that they can have the opportunity to learn more. It never hurts to learn a bit more about anything, really. So
it will change your life, though. I'm just gonna keep.
It will change your life.
It will.
For sure. So anyhow, well, thanks for chatting with me, and
sure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. This should be fun. I think it'll be a good time. So
I think so too. Yeah. This is great.
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
All right.